Hey moms and dads, it's Dr. Scott back here with this next extra special module, Building Healthy Children. And so, moms and dads, the reason that I put this in here is because it is really critical that we as parents, or if you're not a parent yet, future parents, understand this. We have a crisis in our population of children being more unhealthy than what we have ever seen them. And you see some of these numbers on here, right? Per the Journal of Pediatrics, 1% of kids between the ages of 2 and 19 eat a healthy diet. On average, this same group of kids gets 40% of their daily calories from saturated or trans fats. 12 million children get fewer nutrients than they need every day for optimum health. This is a crisis. Our children are being malnourished but overfed. And so, moms and dads, in this video, my intention is that you will understand what that means like you never have before. So the next time you make a food choice for your child, you know why it matters so much. Why giving into your kids' cravings, giving them the sweets, giving them what they want, even though it might be what they want, it's most of the time not the right thing to do. And we need to train their palates to eat the foods like we've talked about in the prior modules, the anti-inflammatory foods, to build a healthy foundation for them. Because, when you look at where we're at right now, there was a study that was done that showed 3,300 kids between ages 2 and 19 found that less than 1% get sufficient fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. These are basic foundational principles for body and brain growth. And we talked about 40% of their calories come from saturated fats. It's this. It's McDonald's, it's Burger King, it's Taco Bell, it's wherever your favorite local burger place is. And many times the kids are even eating these foods at school because this is unfortunately oftentimes what they have on their menus. And so when you look at what our kids are being given, they're constantly putting these things in. But what most of the people I find don't understand is, okay, well, maybe it puts on a few pounds, but how does that affect their health? How does that affect them in other ways? Well, what I hope you're starting to understand by now is that our little ones, our children, are living in this state of chronic inflammation, and it's leading to these epidemic rates of obesity in our kids. But we also have a sicker generation than we have ever seen before. I work in a pediatric practice, right? We have kids that are coming in epic levels. 1 in 5 kids has ADHD. Or 1 in 12 kids has ADHD. 1 in 5 kids has some type of a psychological disorder. We have kids that are coming in with chronic health conditions, chronic constipation, chronic gut issues, chronic immune issues. We have an epidemic of kids that are sicker than what we have ever seen. And we have to understand that not having nutrient-dense foods can have wide-ranging impacts. It can affect their behavior. It can affect cognitive or academic achievement. It can affect the way they process sensory information. It can affect their gross and fine motor skills. It can affect equilibrium, immune function, GI dysfunction, and so much more. These impacts are far bigger than what science used to understand. And the big thing is the emerging research is telling us why we're seeing these things. Because, we talk about food, and food is something that we use to go and feed our bodies, but we need it to feed our brains. If we are not putting the proper nutrition into our brain won't work like it's supposed to. And it can actually cause a child's brain, especially a young child's brain, when they live on a diet of high glycemic index foods. So their brain is constantly on overdrive. It acts like the equivalent of you and I having double espressos constantly. So that sugar spiking makes them super hyperactive. And so no wonder why when our kids are having Fruit Loops for breakfast, then they're having goldfish for lunch, and they go and have Lunchables for their lunch, or they have a peanut butter and jelly for their lunch, and then their snack is a bag of chips, and they come home and they're having the same kind of stuff. No wonder why our children tend to have issues with hyperactivity. That's above normal, right? Kids are going to be hyper to some degree because they have lots of energy. That's the way their brain and their body is built. But when you have those kids that are bouncing off the wall, well, no wonder. And no wonder also why, 2 hours after they eat, they crash and they start to become angry and happy kids because their blood sugar bottoms out. The same way it does for you when you get hangry 2 hours after lunch when you're at work and you just went out and had a big bowl of pasta or whatever you ate. Because that same thing happens in our kids as it does to us. And so if we can understand that these cycles that are happening inside of their body are being driven by what we put in. If you put in foods like, You give your child a bowl of berries or a smoothie that's loaded with berries and flax meal and hemp seeds and chia seeds and some protein. And they have that. That'll sustain a really consistent energy level for them until they hit their lunch. And when they go to school, if they have a snack, you can give them some seeds, you can give them vegetables, you can give them berries, you can give them things that are low in the glycemic index. And then, when you talk about lunch, you can give them foods that are just dense in nutrition. Give them salads. Give them things that, have high nutrient value. Give them things like, bonds of pasta. So if they want a pasta, you've got a low glycemic index, high protein pasta. And so you've got things that will help them to still get some of what they want, but in ways where it's not going to cause their blood sugar to bounce up and down all day. And so, we talk about this concept that what we feed our children affects their health, but it affects their health throughout their whole life. And this is a concept that some of you may have heard, but I know many of you have never, ever heard this concept before, because in my practice here every day, I hear this same thing. Most people think genes are your deck of cards and that's it. And that is not even close to being the story. What we know is that it is epigenetics. And epigenetics is a bigger animal than anyone ever imagined. For a long time, from the days of Darwin, everyone thought that, oh my gosh, the genome is all that there is, and it's natural selection, and whatever, whatever card deck is how we're going to be. And, because mom and dad had heart disease, I'm going to have heart disease. It's not that simple. Epigenetics, when you dig into it, is far more complex, because what it really is this whole complex cycle of genes expressing based upon their environment. And so here's the technical scientific term. Epigenetics is the study of changes in organisms caused by modifications of gene expression rather than alteration of the genetic code itself. What that means is that the environment around the cells influences and determines what cells are going to express. And so I'm going to show you here in a video. And so Dr. Bruce Lipton is the father of epigenetics. And so as we play this video for you, moms and dads, I want you to understand that this man's work flipped science on its head. Here you go.
My name is Bruce Lipton, and I'm a former research scientist. My history was based on cloning stem cells. A lot of people think stem cells are a new understanding in science, but I was cloning stem cells 43 years ago in 1967. And through my research, I found a different path in understanding medicine and health with a different view on genetics, which is now called epigenetics, the new science. In school, most people learn the science of genetics, which is the belief that genes control our traits. This science is really based on the fact that we get our genes from our mother and father at the moment of conception, and that these genes at that moment of conception actually will determine the rest of our lives in regard to our physical, emotional, and behavioral characteristics. A new science is called epigenetics. And epigenetics is an understanding that genes are not self-actualizing, meaning genes do not turn on and off. Genes are just blueprints. And the significance of that is that in order to engage a blueprint, it's not the blueprint's activity, it's the contractor's activity, the one who reads the blueprint that controls the blueprint. So in epigenetics, it's a science of how environmental information selects the genes and can modify the readout of the genes. And this becomes very significant because in genetic control, the old story, we are victims of our genetics. And the new story, epigenetics, because we can change the readout of the genes, we can then become masters of our genetic. And this becomes important because we actually control our health with our beliefs, our perceptions, and our attitudes about life.
So moms and dads, what I want you to take from Dr. Lipton's video is that there is more to this picture of genes than just the deck of cards that you were given. And I hope that you understand that when we talk about this deck of cards, what we put in, what we surround our bodies with, right, put on them, put in them, what we think, will dictate how our genes express. And so understanding that, what you need to then keep in mind is when we talk about our kids, when we talk about their health, when we talk about their bodies, is that if we can change their genetic expression through what we put in, we can literally change the outcome their entire health future. I hope that this makes sense to you guys when you're watching this, because, you know, we can literally change the future for our children. I mean, we can affect brain health, the risk factors for heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and so many more. But it's the foundations that we build now. And listen, in some cases, moms and dads, it's fighting the fights. Because if we get our kids to eat the good foods now and train them on this, then what they do as adults or even teenagers is they make the decisions. They make the decisions on their own from an understanding that you've built in them that this food is healthy and I like to be healthy. And other foods are bad and I don't want to feel bad or I don't want to feel sick. What I have found to be one of the most effective things in even working with my own children is I utilize the Socratic method. And if you've never heard of the Socratic method, I want to explain this to you, because when we talk about teaching our kids about making healthy choices, you have to be Socratic. And so we use this all the time with the kids here in our practice. We utilize it with our kids at home. You have to have your children engage their moral compass. I keep it very simple. I will make them make small decisions about their health. I will say something as simple as, let me ask you a question. If you have a choice between eating this hamburger and this bowl of berries, and eating the hamburger is eventually going to make you sick, or eating the berries is eventually going to make your body healthier, which one would you rather have? Well, naturally, they'll start making the decision to say, oh, I'd rather have the berries. Okay, so if you have a choice between eating McDonald's or eating this Chipotle burrito as a burrito bowl, which is going to have better ingredients in it, and these things are organic, and we know that they're healthier ingredients. And if you eat the McDonald's puts things in it that are going to make you sick, or Chipotle has things that are going to make your body healthier. Which one are you going to choose? They have to engage a moral compass and make decisions. And moms and dads, it's not going to happen overnight. But when you do this time after time, and you ask them questions. The Socratic method is not about you being didactic, telling your kids, you need to do this because I said so. Being Socratic is engaging them in the process, helping them to slowly move the needle from A to B to C, so they start feeling like it's their decisions on their own that they have initiated. But you guided. You as mom and dad planted the seeds, asked the right questions, because at a very basic level, we all want to be healthy. At a very basic level, all of us want to know that what we do is going to make us healthier. If we all of a sudden have a moral compass that says, if I do this, then this is the outcome that I'm going to get, and I don't like that outcome, then most people will start to change what they do so they don't get the negative outcome. Not all, not everyone, it's not going to be 100%, but you have to keep putting these choices in front of your kids, because their brain has a very strong filtering system, a very strong compass of, I want me to be healthy. I want to be healthy. I want to do what I want to do. And so if you start getting them to think, if you put this in your body, do you know you're more likely to get sick more often than your friends? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Oh. And they'll start reviewing what they do through a compass of, should I or should I not do this because of the potential impact on my health? Nobody wants to be sick, and most of us will do just about anything to avoid it. Well, if you flip that script around, and I tell my patients here that everything that I have done for my entire adult life is not about avoiding getting sick. It's about building my body up and my body's defenses so that I can do everything I can to create an optimal environment to express health. They're two very different mindsets. Trying to avoid being sick is not control. I'm proactive, not reactive, right? Reactive is I'm on a medicine because I've got a health event. Proactive is I do all these things. I exercise, I eat well, I get adjusted, I do all these other things. I take my supplements, I drink plenty of water, because I want to make my body so strong, my gene expression so strong, my inflammatory levels so low, that when my body is challenged by an illness, that it can fight it off. That my body is resilient so that when I do get sick with something, if it happens, I rebound faster than other people do. Or when I go in to go and get my blood test done, my hemoglobin A1C levels are good. My CRP levels are good. I have really good blood chemistry, and my cholesterol is good, and my blood panels all come out looking great, better than what I would expect based upon mom and dad's genetic history. And so these are things that you can do to help to change that equation in yourself and your kids. Lifestyle choices that will help all of you to live a healthier life by the decisions that you make over a number of years, starting with teaching them the eating principles that we're teaching you here, implementing them in your own home consistently, and then watching yours and their health transform. So moms and dads, I hope that you got lots of value out of this module. Stay forward to the next one, because we are just going to keep on piling on more and more value, more and more information, so that you can learn how to live the healthiest life that one possibly can. See you in the next one.